How do we generate wealth? How do we generate money, Taoist style, or at least from an insider Chinese perspective, drawing from traditional Chinese wisdom? How do we generate wealth and money, and even should we? Right. So let's take a look at that today. And today is I'm recording this on the fifth day of the new year, and the fifth day of the new year is the day that Chinese people all over the world are going to pray to the god of wealth. So some of them may go to temples, some of them may go just to the local dim sum diner. Might be some sort of special rituals they have, or just spend time with their family. But many Chinese, both in China and within the diaspora community outside China, will be putting special emphasis on today to pray to the god of wealth, the Caishen, to have a good relationship with the god of wealth in the year ahead, and hopefully to generate prosperity and wealth and abundance in our lives. All really nice, good stuff, right? So let's take a look at what the relationship is with the god of wealth, and with wealth in general, from a more traditional Chinese perspective and Taoist perspective as well. So first of all, the god of wealth, the Caishen, can be found in many temples. So various temples in China will have you'll have the main resident deity or group of deities, but often they will also have other shrines and altars for other things. And one of those that's quite common is the Caishen, the god of wealth altar. And on the fifth day of lunar month, Chinese people will go to this and they will pray. They will pray to the god of wealth. I have fond memories of my first trip to the Baiyunguan, the White Cloud Temple in Beijing. I went there for the first time on the fifth day of the new year, just by chance. I not planned it, and I wasn't expecting there to be too many people there, at the temple, and I arrived, and there's this huge lineup. This is back in the day when it's still in the alleyways, the hutong system, and there's these massive lineup just to be able to get into the temple. I was like, whoa, this place is really happening. This is great. And I learned later on, I didn't know at the time, but that it was because they were going there to pray for wealth, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what wealth is and abundance, and how to generate it, right? So the god of wealth, the Caishen, is pretty important. He has a pretty important place within Chinese culture in general. Um, Chinese people love money. And this is a massive generalization, but it's based on my experience and the experience of my ancestors. So my family, over the generations, has had a fair bit of contact with China and within Chinese culture. And I remember growing up, my dad would say, the Chinese, they love money. They invented it, and they love it. And I think that's one of the things I want to talk about today is. I think in the West, there's a sense that having wealth is bad, that money is the root of evil, and there is these other layers of stuff that has accrued around the idea of money over over generations, right? I mean, you can go back to the New Testament, right? And Jesus walks into the temple, and there's the money changers, and he's like, "You guys are charging too much. What are you doing?" He flips the table, and so there's a sense of, I think that's kind of it's like a cultural perspective that money is bad, right? And the Chinese don't have that, right? Again, massive generalization, but in general, my experience, for the Chinese, money's positive. It's a source of energy that can feed us, buy clothes. If we're sick, it can pay for medical expenses. It pays for the roof over our houses, over our heads, and it's a very positive thing, right? And the Chinese, they were the first culture to invent paper money. about 1,000 years ago. You know, you had these merchants from Sichuan that were traveling to the East Coast, and they didn't want to carry all this gold and whatnot, so they came up with these paper notes that banks would begin to use, and that's historically the first place it started, right? And you know, I have my son is half Chinese. Whenever we are with my in-laws, you know, I see Chinese New Year, you get these red, you know, hongbao, the red envelopes stuffed with cash, and you know, the older generations gives it to the younger generation, and it's given in such a loving and positive way, right? It's not bad or evil or something shameful to have. It's joy. It's prosperity. It's fu. You know, it's a good power. It's a good energy, right? And it's a way for the older generations to show their love in a very practical, real way, right? Now, of course, money. You know, there's greed and attachment and other things that can happen around money, of course. But I think it's important to peel those two apart, right? There's money, and then there's our views or our perspectives about what money is and how it works and whatnot. So now the god of wealth, if you want to go and pray to the god of wealth, there's a special way of doing it, right? And this is kind of more of an insider view within Chinese culture, traditional Chinese culture. One thing with Chinese culture and especially Taoism is there's always more going on behind the scenes, right? So there's deeper and deeper and deeper understandings of things, right? And so this is something I want to share today is with the god of wealth. When you go and pray to the god of wealth, you don't want to beg, right? You want to thank him, right? So if you go to someone's house and you go to hang out and you start begging, right? Say a friend comes over and, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a long time. And they're like, I want this and I want this. Can you help me with this? And I'm really unhappy about this. And give me this stuff. You know, part of you might kind of go, you know, you don't really want to help them out, right? And so if you think about gods and deities and whatnot in Chinese culture, you think of them as actual people. It helps understand the relationship with them, right? And so we don't want to go to them, pray to them with an attitude of begging, right? Right? 不要求，要谢, right? So you don't want to beg for things. You go to them with an attitude of gratitude, right? 谢谢. You go and you say, hey, thanks for everything that you've given me. Thanks for, you know, the clothes I'm wearing. Thanks for the meal I had today. Thanks for, you know, all this wonderful stuff that I have. And we might be poor, right? Relatively. And even if you're poor, just being thankful for the pair of shoes you have. It generates a much healthier relationship with the god of wealth. And this is an older traditional Chinese way of going about this, right? And so you 不要求要谢, you don't beg, but be thankful, right? And then the god of wealth will go, hey, he, you know, this guy's like he's appreciating what I do for him, right? or her, you know, hey, oh yeah, that's cool, you know, here, have some more stuff, you know, here, have some more, right? And so by setting up that relationship of gratitude with the god of wealth, it allows more wealth and prosperity to come into our lives. So that's the first thing is 不要求要谢. The second thing is the god of wealth is often called the 无路财神. So 无路 is the 5 roads. So there's 5 different gods of wealth, right? So you got north and south, east and west, and the center. And they are associated with different things. So you can go quite deep into systematizing and the background and lore surrounding wealth and the god of wealth, right? and this is one of them. So called the 5 roads of the God of Wealth. So a deeper understanding of the 5 roads of the God of Wealth is that the 5 roads aren't actual 5 different gods of wealth that you need to pray to. The 5 roads are your 4 fingers and your thumb. That's the Wulu Caishen, right? And so what it's coming to, it's indicating is that it's up to us to first generate a positive relationship with the Caishen through gratitude. But then the second part is it's up to us to make it happen. It's up to us to use our hands and go out and make that happen. There's another saying in Taoist practice and cultivation, 命在我不在天, so that my destiny is in my own hand. It's not up to heaven, right? It's something that I can make happen, right? And so it's a part of it. So yeah, so those are 2 parts of the Caishen. Now also, I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of more from the Taoist perspective. Is having money okay? Is making money okay? And the answer is it depends if you've taken a monthly vow. It depends which path you're on. Are you a monk? Have you 出家, right? Have you left the family? Have you taken a precept of poverty? Or are you a domestic cultivator? And those 2 paths are different. And each of those paths have different rules and different ways of going about it, right? So by becoming a monk and taking a vow of poverty, it's a very powerful path, right? It's saying, I'm going to give up everything, right? I'm going to give up, who I am. I've left my family, which for in the Chinese society is a huge mark of your independence and who you are. So you're cutting your ties with that relationship, with that network of relationships, right? 出家, and you are, and you're also giving up yourself, right? Because that's who you are is often it's based on those relationships. And so you just give everything away. And it's a very powerful path of spiritual cultivation, right? But it's not for everybody. That's for a specific person at a specific point of time within their practice. And it comes down to different factors. One of the major ones being destiny, your Ming, right? Do you have the destiny to do that? Is that path going to be helpful for you, right? And then the other path we have is the path of the domestic, right? The master cultivators who live at home within the world and have a family and they cultivate there. If you are a domestic cultivator, then taking a vow of poverty, it's bad. It's not healthy because if we have a family to support, we need to do that, right? We need to make sure that we have food and clothing and place to live, and money for education and whatnot, right? Like it's important. It's energy, right? And it's okay to keep some of that energy for yourself, right? You don't need to give it all away, right? There is it's not healthy if you do. And I think sometimes those 2 paths get a little blurry, right? Or misunderstood. So it's important if you're living in the world and you're it's okay to work and make money and be successful. I think the Buddhists have a really nice way of talk about what is it, the right, I can't remember the term now for it, but it's your proper career, right? So you're making money in your career in a good way, right? Being virtuous about it, right? So don't be a dickhead, right? Don't try to cheat people. If you do, it's just going to kick in the ass karmically, right? So there's no reason to do that, right? But it's okay to generate wealth in your life if you're a domestic cultivator. If you're a monk, then hey, you give it all away, and that's it's a powerful path as well, right? But they're different. They're different. Right? So, how to generate wealth. I think it really comes down to, in the end, it just comes down to gratitude, being really grateful in this moment for what we have, who we are, and the material things in our life, right? And I find if we have a lot of gratitude for that, then we don't really need a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, it sort of takes care of that whole greed thing because you already have it. You feel so good inside. You're like, yeah, wow, look at these pair of shoes I have. They're amazing. I love them. And you're just so happy with them, with what you have. And then that being said, the God of Wealth is kind of like, yeah, he's a nice guy. Okay, I'm gonna give him some more stuff, right? Um, and then I think we just naturally lead a probably more simple life, but has certain ease to it, right? That has ease. Because poverty that's a tough experience, right? To go through poverty and be in a place of poverty. It can be a tough one karmically to experience and go through. And we don't need to if it's not your destiny. Okay, so there's a lot more we could say about the God of Wealth. There's a lot more behind the scenes stuff, stuff that I'm still learning myself. But I thought I'd share that with you on this 5th day of the new year. So have a great year, have a great day, and we'll talk next time.